Travis Wayne Goodsell. So apparently I should be destroyed more often. I get more views that way, apparently. I'm going to attempt a playlist series. So I'm going to make these count, since I'm about to be destroyed, ruined, dead. Finite, brethren, adieu. And so today's will be a concise plot to destroy the world and America by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. My text, The Way to Perfection by Joseph Fielding Smith Jr. And just like I told you guys, the church is behind it. I saw the note. You guys didn't believe me. And look at where I'm at now. So, on page 290, under the subheading by Voice of the Priesthood, this council in the valley of Adam Ondi Amen is to be the greatest importance to this world. At that time, there will be a transfer of authority from the usurper, which is Jacob in Hebrew, Jacob, and impostor, Lucifer, to the rightful king, Jesus Christ. Lucifer is going to be there in attendance and give Jesus the keys. How else are you supposed to interpret that? In the beginning, Brigham Young, according to the new book published by the Mormon author in 2019. And immediately the Wikipedia page was altered. Previous stuff gone. New stuff that exposes him put in. Mormons think they're clever by covering up the not faith-promoting stuff about church history. And what they do put in, as they claim it's faith-promoting and awesome, is actually expose the church. And so, in the book, he found out that Brigham Young had obtained the Book of Mormon in 1830 after the church, with missionaries going out, spreading the word, spreading the book. And Brigham Young had been attending church in his local area, a congregation, probably at people's houses or whatever, having meetings for 2 years. And so the author is thinking, wow, Brigham Young's really faithful. He's attending church, he's trying to learn, blah, blah, blah. His wife is sick. And they're trying to get priesthood to heal her. This is what he's not talking about. She dies. And so after 2 years, Brigham Young then joins the church with the priesthood that failed to heal his wife. And he doesn't see it, and Mormons don't see it, as it's now on Wikipedia for no one to see. You guys need to watch more R-rated movies. Or comic book stuff, whether you're a Marvel or a DC person or some other, about origin stories of the villains. It explains it all to you. And so Heber was his bestest buddy. Heber was joining for another reason, waiting for Brigham to get him to come with him. See, Heber, in his Wikipedia page, which nobody's done a new book on him, so that hasn't been altered yet to be covered up, it says that he became a master mason in 1 year. And I have to tell people who only impose current Freemasonry upon pre-1826 Freemasonry. They're not the same. It's changed now because they are desperate for anybody to be a part of their organization. Back then, it was under strict guidelines and rules. And so Heber, as he's living in Scottish Rites territory, which did go red on Wikipedia, but you can find it on the map still, sort of. There's Victor Flats something or other, and it's that region in between Batavia and Canandaigua with Palmyra. And so I found out that it was in strips. You'd have a York Rites, Scottish Rites, York Rites, Scottish Rites, York Rites in Western New York. And then he goes, as he says on the Wikipedia page, he goes to Canandaigua, where Joseph Smith Sr. is the Master Mason, but he doesn't say that. He just says he goes there and petitions for an advancement from level 3 all the way to 7 in the York Rites. See, the Wikipedia page on William Morgan is that he had to sign an oath of affirmation that he had the previous ranks to justify being made a Royal Ark. But here, Heber C. Kimball saying, yeah, I was just a 3rd level Master Mason, and so I went to Canandaigua in the York Rite territory to become a Royal Ark. Can somebody say liar? I'd love to put the insert from The Princess Bride. Liar! I'm not a witch, I'm your wife, and after what I just heard, I'm not sure I want to be that anymore. And he says he was accepted. Smith Sr. apparently accepted him. But, oh no, the records are destroyed in 1826. Oh no, are we sure? Because we all know now the records weren't destroyed, because we know that Smith Sr. was the Master Mason of that lodge. Oops! Evidence destroys Heber C. Kimball's plot. Exposes him. Yeah. And so that's why he wants in. He found out they were behind 1826. He found out that the Book of Mormon is the finishing of William Morgan's book. If you're not going to watch my videos, why am I dying for you? I'm sacrificing my life. And so they go to Joseph Smith after they join the church and are baptized. Joseph Smith assigns them to be missionaries to spread the Book of Mormon, which they now know is the finished book of William Morgan. So where do they go? They go to their hometown in Scottish Rites territory and convert all those who had had their temples burned down with the incident with William Morgan, thanks to Joseph Smith Sr. in 1826, the anti-Mason movement. They want revenge for whoever caused that. And so all of these guys who want revenge, who now know it's the Smiths, are infiltrating the church. And the power of Jesus is going to convert their hearts to be good. Well, first of all, you've not read the first vision. It's not Jesus. Jesus is just another latter-day apocalyptic literature character. And so they increase in numbers as they get into quorums. Brigham Young has his 12, but he's not the president, not yet. 1838. That's when they made their move. They tried to overthrow an election, started the Mormon War, and this is where we first hear that these groups of converts of Brigham and Heber are called Danites, judges. They've come to judge the Smiths. And they chase out a lot of Mormons. Joseph Smith gets falsely accused because of Orrin Porter Rockwell, who was ordered by Young and Kimball to go assassinate the governor. This is where the extermination order comes from as well. And so Joseph was on the run and then got into Liberty Jail. Or was the Orrin Porter Rockwell one later? I know it was for treason because of the Mormon War. I don't want to waste too much time. I want to keep this short. But Sidney Rigdon stays behind. He gives a salt sermon. He's fooled. He doesn't realize it's the Danites who are doing all this. And that's when Thomas B. Marsh says, Danites, I want no part of this organization. You know, Joseph Smith locked up in Liberty Jail, and you got the Danites rising up, chasing people out of leadership, out of the church. I'm out. So it had nothing to do with his wife defending her honor for milk scraps. And so Brigham Young, kicking out William Smith as well, has a vote to make him the president, because that's how you're supposed to do it under Joseph's organization. And so as president, he then exalts himself even further by excommunicating Thomas B. Marsh and William Smith. So when Joseph gets back, he calls Brigham Young Judas and his 12 for exalting himself, and puts back William Smith, his brother, into the 12. See, William Smith does not know the origin of the Book of Mormon. That's how tight-lipped that secret was. But Brigham and Heber knew, and they told their Danites. And we know this because of what William Smith did afterwards. And so, more chaos. Joseph Smith is still getting falsely arrested, locked up, over and over again. Heber C. Kimball marries a third wife in 1842 by Brigham. Not authority, exalting himself. And they have to murder Joseph. It's taken too long, they got to murder him. So Willard Richards and John Taylor from the 12 go and stay to make sure it's done. And Joseph got a 6-shooter, chased out the mob. Uh-oh. Problems. And so John Taylor tried to, well, he did successfully wrestle the gun away from Hiram, shot him up through the jaw, into the head, felled him to the ground. Joseph Smith saw that John Taylor had shot him, shot at John Taylor with the remaining 3 balls. John Taylor went under the bed. Joseph Smith went to Hiram's side, and then Willard Richards, having gotten the wine, also got himself a 6-shooter and came from behind Joseph Smith and shot him in the back, and then dumped his body out the window to the well, where they then had their long rifles and shot him. And then nobody seems to realize that rifles, you have to put gunpowder, tamp the ball in, and shoot. And that's long. It doesn't fit. That's why they had to leave them outside. So it wasn't the flying balls all over the room on the second floor. As people who say they're experts in guns and stuff of the time period, I'm hearing from them in my neighborhood. Oh yeah, just like JFK's magic bullet. Dear God. So, you gotta examine the evidence. Don't listen to the contradictory hearsay of the 2 guys who were responsible. So anyway, Brigham Young says, oh, Joseph Smith was doing all these crimes in secret, so it's of God, so help me commit them. And so he and Heber sex traffic, polygamy, the women out of the country into Mexico territory to establish his kingdom of Deseret. That's what his plan is, to overthrow America. That's what the Book of Mormon warns us about, the overthrow of America. And here's Brigham and Heber, who are involved in that, who are pissed, wanted revenge on those who prevented it. And so they were going to take over. But because Joseph wouldn't stay locked up, they had to overthrow the church, take it over, and then leave, because they were no longer welcome in the United States. So they came to Mexico territory, conquered it, murdering the native Indians. The United States came in the next year and took it over. It's now Utah, or American territory, United States territory. Brigham Young is dethroned as king. So he's pissed, but he gets to be governor, but he keeps kicking out all the federal officers sent by the United States. Kicks them out of town. Because he wants it back. He wants his kingdom. So the United States sends in the army, prevents the Salt Lake Temple from being built. Taking 40 years. Yeah, they don't tell us that, do they? Or at least not that version of it. And so he can't win in this situation. The army's there, keeping him from taking back the land. And so he then starts sending families out to settle other parts of the land. You got your Panguitch, your Mountain Meadows Massacre. Now, you can see where they got their training from. They're Danites. They're under Brigham Young. They're violent, hateful men, white supremacists. so that was his next plan, was to settle the West before all the other pioneers or pilgrims or whatever you call them, settlers, came in, so that he could get key locations to then grow the Mormons in the various settlements. But he died. John Taylor then took over. The United States came down on him, locked him up, and then under Wilford Woodruff locked him up. They're committing crimes. They're not stopping their crimes. The tithing was being used as a crime. And so the Edmunds-Tucker Act from the United States came down, shut down the church. The Supreme Court decision said, nope, they cannot exist. So they went deep into debt because they have to rent back all that property. But they're still practicing the tithing thing. So eventually, they get out of debt. They're now telling Mormons to build up Zion wherever you are in the world. No more coming to Utah. It's because the United States told them that. And so they get enough Mormons in government positions in Utah, Salt Lake City, so that Heber J. Grant is now able to reincorporate the church. 1923. He's already changed the Doctrine and Covenants, taking out the doctrine, the lectures on faith, and they've made other changes. They're now calling Joseph Smith's history, the Book of Mormon, Doctrine and Covenants, as literal history, even though the Doctrine and Covenants is obviously coded still at that time. And so they're now calling the personages as Heavenly Father and Jesus, but they're not saying if it's Adam still. They sort of dropped that as the other branch-offs who were pissed that Wilford Woodruff didn't have the guts and the courage to destroy the United States with war. So they branched off and are all the other churches of Mormon, Brigham Young. And so now it was a matter of converting so that people pay into the tithing, so that the church can get rich. They had $1 million in 1923, and it was time to increase that. And so missionary work around the world commenced. You get the temple in wherever it was it Sweden or somewhere out there? And then over time, the church is now wealthy enough that they now start buying up land. That's when Gordon B. Hinckley started the small temples. So slightly less populated or less land coverage, but they're able to do more. And it's still being justified with the number of elders in the various parts of the world to give them a temple. And if you're unfamiliar with why would they be interested in buying up land, you have no concept of settlement. There's the Tom Cruise, Nicole Kidman movie. Not Eyes Wide Shut, but that is involved. Oh, Irish movies, that's the one I wanted. There it is, Far and Away. Yeah, awesome song. And so yeah, owning land It's kind of important, especially after a knowing cataclysm of warlike proportions that will destroy the United States and the world, so that all the governments will be destroyed. A warning from the Book of Mormon. And so yes, under Nelson, he's no longer caring about whether there's enough Mormons paying tithing. Why? Because the whistleblower exposed that the church no longer needs Mormons. They make more in interest from the tithing investment through the stock market and other portfolios than the Mormons give in tithing. They don't need us anymore. And so Nelson, what is he doing? Buying up land as quick as he can. Because the time is coming to a close. And so that's their plot. That's their plan. And so this exposes it. It's not Jesus Christ. So if it's not Jesus, who is it that's going to be the king of all the world? And they're getting it from Lucifer, huh? Uh-huh.